Hello and welcome to Happy Foot Sad Foot, your LAFC gateway drug and the only LAFC podcast that found out we were losing El Trafico from the back of a limo. I'm Travis Helwig.
I'm Vince LaRosa.
And I'm Darren Miller. Welcome to our double preview episode of LAFC's next two MLS matches. The first versus Austin on Wednesday, September 18th at 7:30 p.m. at BMO Stadium, followed by Dallas on Saturday, September 21st at 5:30 p.m. at Toyota Stadium in Dallas. You can watch both on MLS Season Pass on Apple TV Plus. And Wednesday's match is free and also available on FS1.
You don't need to watch it on FS1 at this point. Apple TV Plus is like $0. Just get it for the rest of the season.
Some people prefer FS1, the home of Alexi Lawless, you know? And our live post-game call-in show will start 10 minutes after the final whistle of both matches at youtube.com/@HappyFootSadFoot.
Later in the show, we'll reset our souls and cleanse our spirits. And of course, we'll cover all the storylines for this week's match and make some bets. But first, debate whether this show is a comedy or a drama. It's time for listener-mandated banter. Now, I have nothing to say about the debate of what show is a comedy and what show is a drama. Okay. I think all shows are great, and the Academy can make no wrong decisions.
As I say, I feel like that decision was made for you in the best way possible, obviously.
That's true.
All shows are good. I have no negative things to say about anything.
I think congratulations are in order.
Yeah, I did it all. For those of you who don't know,
Travis was not at El Trafico because he was at the Emmys supporting his very talented wife.
Now, what we thought that night would be was a very fun, albeit sad, romp where my wife's show was beaten by the bear repeatedly. And while we were beaten by the bear repeatedly most of the time, somehow they won best show.
I mean... For my money, they won best show because it's the best show, and I guess I'm in the majority.
The bear is just such a cultural behemoth, right? Like everyone watches the bear, so the idea that it wouldn't win was so surprising. I think to everyone you could hear it in the room. People were stunned. I'm obviously
was there an audible gasp?
Genuinely, yeah. And if you watch the footage back, people are like looking around, surprised. The headlines from the show were like, biggest upset in years or whatever.
Could you hear Jeremy Allen White just scream, fuck?
Well, that's just how he acts. That's his style of acting. Anger. No, it was very, very cool. It was incredible to be there. And I don't want people to lose sight of the fact that I have 3 Emmys that are just as important as my wife's.
That's important to mention. Yes.
Yeah. Why were you allowed on stage?
They didn't get +1s on the acceptance speech?
I thought that was a rule. If you've won an Emmy, you can go on the stage. It's like you can't touch the trophy.
Oh, if you're an Emmy,
you can just go on the stage. Yeah.
And I think...
Not true?
Because I have daytime Emmys, I shouldn't be allowed in the room.
Oh.
I snuck in. I was... The trophies look the same, but no one treats them with the same respect. I'll say.
Wait, have you tried to weigh them?
Oh, that would be such a fuck you if they.
That'd be so funny if they like purposely make a daytime Emmy slightly lighter.
Yeah, like I want to know. There's got to be some kind of difference. There's no chance that they're like.
Can you tell?
I forget what year I got these.
Okay.
2013. That's how long I've been coasting on working at Ellen.
Wow.
A decade now.
Yeah.
She's been coasting
for a little
bit less.
Change your bio. Coasting off of Ellen for a decade. That should be your new bio.
Yeah, right.
Over a decade. So not just a decade, over a decade, which just can put in. So yeah, which one's which? Which one's does one feel heavier?
No, these are both from Ellen. And I mean the thing that like people always say that they're heavy.
I thought you were going to compare the weights of the daytime and the prime time.
We need you to get your wife's and see if hers is...
I'm not going...
You were just using this as an excuse to bring your Emmys out.
Yes, I was.
Yeah, well, not today.
I keep them in my bathroom.
Yeah, you don't even need to tell people on the show. I just need to know for my own personal edification if you could do that.
I'll get some weight.
Some point.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, which one weighs on you more heavily?
I would say emotionally working at Ellen has weighed on me for a decade now.
For over a decade.
Are you coasting on it, or is it weighing on you?
I did get this message that I wanted to play for our audience.
From Jeremy Allen White?
Yeah, this Make the sandwich faster. That's my bear impression.
Oh, so sorry that you didn't book that
I
role.
couldn't have won these Emmys without the unwavering support of the Happyfoot Sadfoot Patreon subscribers.
Wow, so that was what she wanted to say in her speech, but they played her off.
They cut her off.
That's what we didn't hear in the broadcast. Wow.
Yeah, they cut her off, but this is from her speech. They cut her off once again.
I couldn't have won these Emmys without the unwavering support of the Happyfoot Sadfoot Patreon subscribers.
Wow, thank you so much to our Patreon subscribers.
Thank you, Jen. Thank you to the subscribers.
Said with the conviction of someone with a gun to their head, but yeah.
yeah. It sounds like she's reading.
One sentence a week, my wife says to me.
Was she holding up the day's newspaper?
And maybe we should thank you for spending your one sentence a week on that.
I'm trying to get us another $5 a month from one of our 200 listeners.
By the way, Jen is not a subscriber, I don't think.
Well,
yeah, is any of the cast or crew from the show subscribers?
Oh, I use it. Lucia
on stage.
Lucia, one of the other creators of the show, used to have my season tickets with me, and then they started making hacks, and she couldn't go to games anymore. So now I just do it by myself. But she used to be who I would go to games with, and then I think we started losing in like 2019, 2020, right when she got the show. She's like, "Fuck LAFC." I'll just watch AC Milan instead.
Yeah, she missed the Italian man. Well, AC Milan's not doing much better.
Yeah.
As a Juventus fan, just had to rub that in a little bit.
Yeah.
Juventus 3-1 today. AC Milan, not as good.
Christian Pulisic's looking pretty good.
Oh my God. Did you guys see the interview he had to do after the game?
No,
what happened?
So after the game, he goes on, the Champions League show with like Michael Richards, Jamie Carragher, Kate Abdo, Thierry Henry. So they're like, oh, we've got Christian Pulisic. And those guys, they're so like, if you like the show, it's fine. Some of the show's good, but some of the show gets just too silly and slap happy. So Micah and Jamie are just like, oh my God, he's here. It's Captain America. Dude scored a goal in a 3-1 loss. And his face is just like, and Jamie's like, it doesn't matter. He scored a goal. Was not having any of it. And the whole interview just continued to just roll downhill from there. They were like, hey, well, what about Pochettino? You talked to him? He's like, no, I haven't even seen him. Haven't met him. It's like, yeah, but you maybe talked to him. And he's like, I'm just trying to focus on, what's coming up next. And on top of it, Milan plays Inter. So the Milan derby is the following weekend. And these guys are like chuckling in the studio. And he's just like, I can't believe I have to do this. It was one of the worst interviews I've ever seen.
It's like, yeah, it is like how disconnected American soccer media is from like what matters to the players, right? It's like the narratives we care about, who the U.S. national team coach is.
But these guys are English. The problem is that somebody has told them kind of what you've said. It's like, hey, the Americans don't care. They just want you to laugh and say stupid shit. And that's not, I don't think it's totally true, but definitely don't do it.
Don't say that because that's all this show is.
Yeah, wait a second.
This is a regional show.
Yes.
So
this
very
is the
different.
Daytime Emmy.
This is a daytime Emmy.
Yeah, we're a daytime Emmy show.
No, but I'm just saying, like,
the primetime Emmy wife involves.
Think former players that have both played in the Champions League, but any time they could reel it in is when a guy steps up after he's just lost.
Yeah.
After they were winning, after he scored the go-ahead goal in the first 5 minutes, you'd think they could put it together, but they can't.
Oof.
I'm like dreading this episode because I'm so sad about the team.
Interesting.
Can we talk more about the Emmys? That was so fun. I was Travis. I was so happy watching the Emmys. Sunday was so bad after losing El Trafico. What a great way to end Sunday. Good vibes, sorely needed.
Did not watch the Emmys,
So
but
thanks.
my mom was giving me play-by-play. I was getting texts as the show was winning, and I was like, "Thanks, Mom. Yeah, I'm sure they're very happy. I love you. Enjoy the show."
Yes, it was very fun, and I'm very happy for my wife, who I love.
Good.
All right, now let's start the show.
Yeah,
They all deserved it.
we can cut that down some. We talked for too long.
I always do. All right. Well, as the obsession-curious casual on the podcast, I'll never miss a match, but left to my own devices, I'll really only get so much out of what I'm seeing. Ball get kicked, ball go in net, Frenchman flip. And worse, in the time between matches, I'll wander and lose my way into the trappings of a normal life as they swallow me into an infinite forest of darkness until a match day in the distance saves me once more. Except, of course, in the case of an El Trafico loss, in which case that match throws me even deeper into the darkness. And again, the time between matches propels me deeper still. And I'm left to question not only what strategy, roster moves, statistical analysis, and memes I might have missed, but also what I'm missing on a cosmic scale. What perhaps we're all missing? Why are we even here in the first place, I'll wonder? Where even is here when all I see is this darkness? What's the fucking point, I'll ask? A loss like that at a time like this, I'll ask? No one in this office gives a shit about soccer or has any idea what you're talking about, my boss will answer. Please go back home and take a shower. You can't wear a soccer jersey here. This is an office for adults. Luckily, my friend Travis, the human LAFC crazy wall, scoffs at such meek flirtations with true obsession as he toils away all week in his own metaphorical forest of exactly the deeper understanding and significance behind, ahead of, and beyond every match that I need most. A true martyr sacrificing his sanity to save that of us meager casuals. And he's here each week between Hollywood parties to break down the most important storylines of every match so we can enjoy them so much more in a segment we call Storylines.
That was a novella, huh?
That was
I went to-
Bourdain. That veered into like Bourdain territory for a little bit there.
I went to a
Thought you were
tough
gonna-
place after that loss.
Yeah, I thought you were going to go on a walking tour of Kiev or something.
Well, Vince, we all know after the last few years, it's Kiev. We learned that in the last.
Yeah,
few
it's Kiev, guys.
and none of us knew it before, but we all pretend like we do. We did. It's Kiev.
It is where my ancestors are from.
I'm Ukrainian a little bit too. That's interesting.
Hey, I bet we
So,
were friends. Wait.
As you guys know, that's not how time works.
act like
As you
you
guys
know.
know, but our listeners don't know, I've developed a bit of a cold from the Emmys, so I was asleep most of today. So storylines are going to be a little loosey goosey. So Darren, Vince, Dintz, I come to you as the only LAFC fan who watches every game and obsesses about this team that is not currently sad about El Tráfico because I didn't watch it and didn't have to go through with it. And so I come to you with the first storyline of the week, and it's one that I want to know honestly, and I want you to both answer it directly. And it's this. Are we okay?
No.
Are you guys okay?
No.
What's going on?
No.
It's been
Vince?
a pretty rough few weeks since the League's Cup final, right? It feels a little bit like it's been tough for the team. Honestly, since Giroud came, there's been a bit of a vibe. The vibes have been a little messy. I mean, we can talk a little bit about what's going on with Giroud, why we can't find him, what's going on with the team. But emotionally, after that game, I got a real sense that people's spirits were broken. It was a game that I think we were all okay with losing going into it. But then the style in which we lost it feels like the real thing people are upset with. But you explained to me, as someone who hasn't watched the game, why it was so soul crushing of a loss. Besides that it was against the Galaxy.
Maybe that is a good way of thinking about it, because if you try to picture this, the way that we lost, like say it was that game but not Galaxy, that still would have been pretty rough.
Yeah.
Right. And I think you nailed it. It felt like where we like pushed like first 15 minutes flying, right? And playing the style of game in which we kind of all anticipated that LAFC were going to play against Galaxy. And we're like, it's going perfectly to plan. And those idiots don't know what to do. And then the second half just goes the complete opposite way. So I think it literally is, as you said, the style in which they lost. And then the fact that like there were no answers. And I don't know if there could have been even any answers in that moment. It was just like, you got to take your medicine. You're going to take this beating. And it felt inevitable. Like once they tied the game, it felt absolutely
And they tied it
inevitable.
fast, right? It was like in like 10 minutes into the second half, it was tied.
Less,
Yeah.
I think.
No, about 10 minutes in, it was tied. And then they got the third goal shortly after. And then obviously
That's what it was. The third goal was like 2 minutes later.
Puig getting to cap it off with that and getting to take his shirt off and do his little celebration and be so happy. I mean, I think that's
Very
what it is.
little.
It's painful
That's
seeing
maybe
that.
what it, yeah.
It's
That's
painful
so
seeing
much
that
of it,
little man
honestly.
happy.
Seeing Puig be successful and happy, especially after
And I
being
really
not
hate
happy.
his Twitter. I'm so sick of it. Stop it. Like
I would hate his Twitter That would be my problem if his real self wasn't even worse.
Well, I think it's obvious that he's a bit of a dork, right? It's obvious that he's a bit of a tryhard. You like even
Yeah.
the way he like follows around the other Barcelona players during All-Star, whatever. But like, I don't begrudge any player who's very online. Like, I love Kevin Durant being very online, even
he's
though he's
not-
also annoying.
But he's not very online. He only shows up in the moments in which it makes him look good. That's why I think it bothers me. And,
Yes.
and you know what? To be honest, that's kind of his whole MO in MLS. I mean, win a game that matters, buddy, and then
Yeah.
we'll talk. I'm being serious. Like, he still hasn't won a game that matters. Like, this game did not matter ultimately.
Yeah, I will say that Galaxy fans were saying that it was maybe their most important game in years because it would pretty much
bummer for you guys.
Well, no, true, but like one, they had already been decimated by us twice. This
Mhm.
game mattered a lot to them, but if they couldn't beat us, their chance of winning the West would have gone away probably with that game, right? This was to clinch.
But haven't they been telling us that none of that matters? The only thing that matters is MLS Cup. I forgot.
Right, but but we all know what's true when we put aside our dumb little hats or we say all the stupid things to each other, right? They knew we had games in hand, and they knew that this was important for their pride. Sure. I do think they've probably won the West now, right? Like, we still can do it, but it's a lot more difficult.
Well, you got to imagine. I mean, so games in hand, they're now 7 points clear, and we still have 2 games in hand, so that doesn't cover that gap. But I would imagine both these teams are going to drop some points. It's just a matter of who drops more, right? And the Galaxy, I believe, actually have a tougher schedule. I think they have a majority
fewer
of their fewer games, and a majority of them against teams currently in the playoffs. We play more teams outside the playoffs. Our one really tough one is they have LAFC has to go to Cincinnati, and that comes right after the Open Cup final. So you would imagine that's going to be a tough one.
And oh, God forbid we lose the fucking Open Cup final. Emotionally, what that will do to the team. Yeah. I mean, like, that's a must win in a lot of ways. I feel like okay. So we have 2 games coming up this week that are against Texas teams emotionally that we need to bounce back to beat. Do you think this team is in a headspace where they'll be able to win some points on Wednesday against Austin? Emotionally, do you think that they took it as hard as we did?
Yes and no. It's hard to say, right? I mean, obviously, it's going to be much easier to say in hindsight, right? So if they don't do well against Austin, you're going to say, well, they're emotionally devastated by the Galaxy game, even though they very well could be over it. Like, there's a lot of veterans on this team. They have gutted out results before. Case in point, going from the League's Cup final loss to winning in Seattle, a very difficult game in which they really didn't have much business winning, but they still got it. They still took care of business, right? So I don't worry about them too much. I think the best case scenario is the fact that they are at home. So it's like, of all the places you can be, you get to go home. The crowd's going to be loving it. And I'm sure we'll get to this. It's tarnished a little bit, but Carlos being there, and he'll definitely be there because they're doing a pre-game press conference. I don't think he plays, but he'll be there and he'll probably wave at some point to everybody. I think those vibes or he'll be the Falconer. I think those vibes will be immaculate. And so that's, honestly, best case scenario of what
that's going to go a long way, I think.
Yeah.
Well, let's get to it. That was the second storyline, which is, when will we see Carlos Vela? Or what's the Carlos Vela of it all here, right? Like, have we gotten any clues about where Carlos Vela is right now? I know we're doing this press conference, but outside of that, do we have a sense if he's going to play soon? And on top of that, what his role will be with the team, right? Kike was not in the lineup for the team. I assume he was just missing for national team duty. Do we have any other information about Kike? But, do we think Kike still starts over Carlos? Talk to me a little bit about Carlos Vela returning to the team now that the dust has settled on that signing.
I do think Kike still starts over Carlos in the short term. Steve had his press conference today, his normal run into the match. He was classic Steve. He was pretty cagey about when we'll see him. Just kind of saying look, he's been out for 9 months, but he's also a consummate pro, knows himself better than anyone else, and is incredibly talented and can contribute in any way possible. But also gave a very much we'll wait and see what role he plays and what he does. But that's my job. Basically, he was saying that's my job to figure it out. Don't you guys worry about it. I'm assuming because of the schedule, I don't think he plays Wednesday. Then we go to Dallas, a place where the weather's probably not going to be great, and it's not the best place to play. I don't think he plays in that match either. And if he does, maybe a minute or two, or if he even travels, I would say the first time we see him is after these 2 games.
What's the following game? Is the following game the U.S. Open Cup?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
the
it's
Open Cup
it's
final.
potential we see him for the first time in the Open Cup final, which also seems risky, right? Playing a player for the first time
If
in
you
a
start
It's
him.
final?
such a funny
I doubt he
combination of like
starts.
a incredibly important and completely inconsequential game.
No, I doubt
Darren,
he.
we
I
love
doubt
the
he
U.S.
starts.
Open Cup.
Yeah, how dare you? Grow the game.
No,
The
but
Leagues
I
Cup
mean,
is a
even
cash grab.
subbing
I've
him
been saying
on.
it since the beginning.
I thought we were
Well,
I thought we were saying the Open Cup was a cash grab. What?
No,
Our story's
we
changed.
hate the Leagues Cup because we
Oh, okay.
lost it, and the Open
Yeah,
Cup we're still in
the
it.
Open
And
Cup
if
we're
we
in.
lose
Sorry.
the Open
Come on.
Cup, it's stupid and it doesn't
Sorry.
grow the game. But for right now, we're growing the game. Okay, we
Okay.
love growing
Yeah.
the game.
Yeah.
That's the
Got
main
it.
objective, to grow the game. The Lamar Hunt U.S. Open Cup. I can't believe we
I
missed
think you
that
got to
3
give him
times at least.
if you want him to play in that final, you got to give him a couple of minutes in Dallas, right? Like you don't want a player's first minutes to be that consequential, even as good as Carlos is.
I would imagine that. However the game goes is like if they're up by 3 goals on Wednesday with Austin, he'll go in for a minute. Why won't he?
we never blow leads.
Fuck.
Well, as far as you know, you didn't watch the game.
Yeah, seriously.
Well, I want to talk about one thing. So we talked about a little bit on the emergency pod about Vela, and I mentioned it a little bit in the "Are we okay?" section of storylines. Giroud has not found. Was he as absent in the Galaxy game as it seemed from me watching the highlights? Like he wasn't involved. There was one moment, right, where he shot and there was a deflection and it went off the post.
Right.
Outside of that,
Yeah.
how involved was Giroud, and what do you think's going on with him? It's been a couple weeks now. We should have figured out something by now. And I'll say that like it took Denny Bouanga a couple of months before he wasn't into the playoffs his first season that he really became Denny Bouanga. Kai Kamara also struggled with us at first. Kike Oliveira struggled with us at first. So this is a pattern, right? New forwards come in and they struggle with our team a little bit and eventually find their footing. What do you think we need to do different with Giroud? And will the addition of Vela and Vela's distribution help us find Giroud better? Do you think there's a combination there?
I do think that there's definitely a correlation between Vela, a better passer, and has that kind of vision and ability to pick out anyone, anywhere on the field, not just Giroud. But what happened was like the second half really should have been the Giroud half, where like LAFC can still sit back,
Totally agree.
then get the ball into his feet, and then play off of him. And they just, I don't even know if they tried, but they just couldn't. Like they couldn't get the ball forward at all. And that ultimately was how the Galaxy got back into the game. It wasn't so much that LAFC were bad. It's like they were so bad in the moments where they actually turned the Galaxy over again and then gave the ball right back away. You can't do that. Like the first half, they were more than willing to weather the storm. The Galaxy got minor chances, not big ones. And the biggest one came actually with Timothy Tillman off the field. So 11 versus 10. But when they won the ball back, they immediately gave it right back away. And then were out of position when maybe just look for Giroud there and see what he can do because he is such a physical presence. Maybe they just try to get too cute with it. And maybe to your point, Travis, it's like, the dude's a world-class player. Just pass him the ball. Let him figure it out, and we'll move forward from there.
Yeah, it feels like go ahead, Darren.
I was going to say he has that clause in his contract that we're not allowed to pass him the ball. So I think that's probably something they're running up against.
Unless he's going to score a goal. He's like, I just make me look good, guys.
That's why he's so annoyed. He's like, you keep breaking my contract. I haven't scored.
Stop passing me the ball. I'm supposed to just sit here and look pretty.
It like, I do get the sense that the team gets very used to playing in certain styles. They've gotten used to playing with Bouanga and Kike, who can fucking run as fast as possible.
Mm-hmm.
And Giroud is not that player. It's very clear he wants to play like with quick passes and turn around and tap things in and stuff. He wants to do some hold up play, which is a term you taught me and I still don't fully understand. But like, it just feels like there's a real disconnect when I watch this team play with the way Giroud moves and the way the rest of the team is moving. And I'm curious if it's just a rep thing or if they need to change the style of play. He's good enough that it's worth shifting our style around him, because if you can score that many goals in Serie A, that means you can definitely score that many goals here. We need to play to your strengths and not to Lewis O'Brien's strengths, right? And not to Timothy Tillman's strengths. Not to say anything bad about Timothy Tillman, who's been incredible for us, but like we should prioritize the superstar on our team.
Can you imagine Can you imagine his entire stint with LAFC being like we were rigid and he just did nothing, and then we just let the entire opportunity pass by?
Well, I'm nervous to say this because I don't think it's true, but like Gareth Bale was not a good player with us. Feels different, one, because of the injuries, and two, Gareth Bale was not close to healthy when he came, and Giroud definitely is. It feels more like a play style thing than anything else. Like I'm confident Giroud will get there, or that LAFC will get there with Giroud, but it's beginning to feel a little bit nerve wracking, right? Like you look at the Galaxy's star signing, and he fits in right away. It feels like they're getting what they need to with him. And we've had Giroud for a month now, and outside of one goal in a game that we'd rather forget, Giroud hasn't been there for us at all. Kai Kamara has been a more dynamic player for us when he's in the game.
Sure. Kai is a little bit more mobile, and then obviously against the ball works just that little bit harder. I'm not saying Drew doesn't work, but he works that little bit harder. It's difficult. I mean, honestly, I know that I said, hey, just get him the ball and see what he can do. I wish it was that easy, because you don't play the game that way, right? You have kind of options and you have a play style, and tactically the play style has been, let's break up play and then let's get the ball forward into space and then let's all run. And if we're sprinting at the other team, they're terrified. And so guys like Lewis O'Brien, Timothy Tillman are winning the ball, and they're looking up, and the first thing they're seeing is Bouanga sprinting. And they're saying, that's my best option. Also, if I play that ball over the top and it happens to go wrong, well, guess what? We can repress that ball. Now, the alternative is, okay, I'll look off that option and I'll look to Giroud doing the hold-up play, which in that moment means he's probably come more shallow. He's come into an area where, one, he probably has somebody near him, right? A defender near him. So in playing that ball, you're assuming a risk. And then on top of it, he's going to have to then play off of you. So now you're adding more passes, you're adding more risk. And so the guys are just kind of, because of the way they've been playing for such a long time leading up to this, just naturally defaulting to the things that have worked for them.
Yeah.
And it's tough. And I agree with you. Like the play style needs to change a little bit. Unfortunately, that Galaxy game really was set up the way the Galaxy play, and you saw it in the first 15 minutes, that was the way forward. If they could have just keep doing that and then been a little bit better with their exit passes in the second half, they probably, at least they end up with a point in that game, but I think they do much better in that game. It just hasn't fallen for him at the right moment where, one, the tactics are better for the opponent, and two, he just hasn't had the reps with the guys. And I think that really shows. And there's no, he's a world-class player, but in his position, he does rely so much on his teammates, as opposed to a Marco Reus who's going to be already in the game from midfield. There's just no alternative for having a guy in preseason or just a build-up, a lot of time with his teammates. And I know that's not going to make anybody happy, but that's like the MLS window. So we've got to deal with it. And maybe, hopefully, those patterns start to go into place. Luckily, the playoffs don't start tomorrow. So we do still have time, but I definitely understand people's frustrations, and I see it in Giroud. Like you can feel it, like it feels palpable. So I 100% back anyone that watches that game and is like, why did we get this guy? I feel like you're just gonna have to. It's like, trust me, bro. Like that's it. That's all I've got, really.
I was gonna ask about that. Like it's hard to tell whether or not, because it's also trusting Trundolo, which people right now seem to have a little bit of a harder time than normal doing. But like, we're talking about his play as if he's been getting a lot more reps than he has. Like Trundolo's been slow playing his minutes for sure. Like he hasn't really been in the game that much, that consistently. And it's clear that he would prefer to be in more. Not that that's any different than any other player, but I wonder how ready he is, in the sense that like maybe he's more ready than Trundolo thinks. I don't know. He needs the reps. Both, I think you were referring to him getting more reps like in training than in games. And this is a pattern, like we mentioned before, of strikers needing more time to warm up. You mentioned Vela being a factor, but like he's going to need more time to warm up too. Like at a certain point, it's like a cycle that's just like no one's ever ready enough
Well,
So I don't
It's
know.
interesting. We at the beginning of the season we were like, is this a rebuilding year, right? Is this and we're
That's
finding
funny,
now
yeah.
as we're completing our team that the team is now revving up. We need to now. This happened. We do a lot of work in the summer window, and this feels like it always happens every
Yep.
year. As we get these guys who
Sure.
come in and they need to ramp up at the end of the year, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. Bouanga's a case where it worked really well, right? And he was rough at first, and then by the time the playoffs came around, he was great.
But we're happy with Kike now. And I remember
Well-
after in our post game at the MLS Cup Finals being like, well, Kike was a fucking bust.
Yeah.
That's the problem.
I
Not
just
the
wanna-
problem, but
I
like we were
wanna-
like, he's shit.
Yeah, I want to add on one thing to what you were saying, Darren, because I think you were hitting on a really good point. He hasn't had consequential minutes, and just consider what the most consequential minutes he's had have been. The start in the Leagues Cup final against Columbus, the start against the Galaxy. What were the tactics of both those games? Two teams that are going to be possession heavy, and they felt the best way forward was to be a counter-attacking side, which we can argue that, and I know people will because they don't like Steve or they don't like his tactics, but that was probably the LAFC's best way forward because of the way they were playing leading up to that final, and then just in general the way teams have beat the Galaxy. And actually LAFC has beaten the Galaxy this season, and so to that point, the most consequential minutes have come using tactics in which suited the team, but not Giroud. So that puts Steve in a tough spot.
Interesting. Have you noticed like teams playing defensively between Giroud and Bouanga? Like, have they been putting more pressure on one over the other? Because the other thing that we were going to benefit from Giroud being there is it freeing Bouanga up more. I don't know if that's happening too.
I mean, you haven't seen the ability, because the switch has been so toggled towards quick transitions, quick counterattacking play. Really, where Giroud is going to free the team up is if you can get some patterns of play, some hold up play, and then if you remember that goal in Seattle where Kai Kamara came shallow, he got the ball, he turned, played immediately on to Bouanga. Bouanga gets in there and scores. That's the pattern of play you're going to look for also with Giroud, but you can't do it unless you can start to add that layer to your game. So again, I think it's just been a tough spot where the best way forward for the team to win might not be the best way forward for Giroud to get reps with his teammates.
And just I want to say too, some of it feels a little bit luck based right now too, right? Giroud has had good looks that have not gone in. Like if that shot went in that hit the post, or if he scored one of the chances that he's had so far,
Right.
2 goals would feel different right now than 1 goal, right? It just feels like we're looking for more output from him. Once he gets a couple in there, he's going to feel better. We're going to feel better. I think we know he's a good player. I think the team's just got to figure out the best way to use him going forward. And I think Vela might be the key to unlock that. Let's quickly move on because we're running a bit long. Austin and Dallas this week, 2 teams that are not doing great. They're out of the playoff race. They're out of the playoffs as of right now. I don't know if they're out of the race. Austin is in 11th in the West. Dallas is 10th. We're playing Austin at home. We're playing Dallas in Dallas. We're famously not good in Texas. We don't play well in any sort of weather, I would say. What should we think?
Perfect conditions.
We want the field to be 70 degrees and full of sand. What should we expect from the teams this week, Vince? Obviously, we should beat both of these teams. What should we be worried about?
Austin is interesting because Driussi is out because of yellow card accumulation, and so is Valencia. Yeah, you would say hell yeah, but now you're like, are they just a wounded animal and they're going to play like a tight style? That LAFC now, as we were talking about, instead of countering and finding space, are they going to sink so deep that LAFC is going to get frustrated? Is it going to be one of those like games where LAFC has 20 shots on goal, but nothing goes in, and then the team gets one chance the other side? So I would say look out for that. And then Dallas is
no. That might be it for me. I don't know.
You can't do it. You're done for the season if that happens.
At this point, that's really crossing the line. One of those kind of games.
Fair.
And they're always at home. They're always at home.
I know.
Of course. Well, because that's just the way the teams come out. Visiting teams, you're thinking, okay, if we could just win a point here and then maybe steal something. I mean, it's classic.
I'm very upset just hearing about that possibility.
Dallas is interesting because they're just like, they have talent. Like Peter Musa is a pretty good player. They have some good players. Obviously, Jesus Ferreira can be a good player, but has been like absent since he had his great season. I think they can be dangerous. I just don't know what to make of them. They're hit or miss week in and week out. So I think it's really going to depend on what the rotation is going to be as we then consider the bigger game that's in midweek, which is the Open Cup final. So that's one of those where it's like, don't look ahead. We still need points. Also, to Travis's point, it's probably going to be hot and you guys aren't going to enjoy it because you'd rather stay in your hotel rooms. But sometimes you just got to gut it out.
Darren, have you ever been to Dallas?
I've been to Dallas BBQ in New York City.
They have those big Texas-style margaritas.
Yeah, hell yeah. I've been to Salt Lake in Austin.
No, okay.
I think that's originally from Dallas, isn't it? Or maybe they just also are in Dallas.
I think they also are in Dallas.
That's fair. Wasn't Dallas like the one team that beat Miami while Messi was out?
Probably. Just goes again to the
Like
point
randomly?
of like them being just so like hit or miss, and they could be a good team, but they just can't put it all together.
I remember back in the day, there was a Reddit post. This is like from a year and a half ago, and I think about it all the time because I think it's so funny and it didn't catch on, but they said that when Austin and Dallas play, it's the beef and broccoli bowl. And I think that's so funny.
That's
amazing.
so good. That's so
Why are people calling it that?
Wow.
There's a broccoli on one and there's a beef on the other. It's the beef and broccoli bowl, you fucks.
Yeah.
When we come
Is it
back,
a cow?
Why can't we have
Isn't
nice
it a
things?
bull?
Beef.
they're the same species. When we come back,
Oh yeah, good point.
we're going to do our second guided meditation.
And we're back. Well, last week sucked. So as we head toward the playoffs and toward the US Open Cup Finals, where we have a chance at winning hardware, it seems like it's a good time to completely reset our entire minds and bodies to something different. Anything that's different than Saturday, really anything at all. One thing that we did last season that worked really well, I would say, is the reason why we made it to the MLS Cup Finals, is that we got a real-life meditation expert / Silver Lake Witch to guide us in an LAFC-specific meditation that we knew, and we know now, you'll need to cleanse your soul and rebuild your spirit. So we're doing it again, and we're updating what we need for this year in 2024. So please just sit back, relax, and join us now. Spooky Witch holding many crystals, please take it away.
Hello, and welcome to your 5-minute calm down meditation. Take a deep breath in and settle into your space.
Repeat as you breathe, Mateus Bogush. Mateus Bogush.
Allow the seat below you to support your body and relax your shoulders down your back.
Repeat as you breathe. Pierogi season, pierogi season, pierogi season.
Take a deep breath in through your nose.
We must return to who we are deep down, much like Carlos Vela returned to who he is, a player too good for Major League Soccer.
And slowly exhale out of your nose.
Tactics. They're not important, but say it with me. Tactics.
Allow the tongue to fall away from the roof of your mouth.
And I'm breathing Dolo in, and I'm breathing Dolo out, and I'm breathing Dolo in. And once again, because we lose one game, I'm breathing Dolo out.
And the belly to relax.
Chiellini, 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 Chiellini. Just let the sound wash over you as you breathe again. Chiellini, 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 still with us in spirit. And I can go on Cameo and pay for him to wish my friends and co-hosts happy birthday anytime. He's never left. Chiellini, Chiellini, Chiellini.
Take a deep breath in.
Visualize the ball rolling through green grass. A pass delicately laid from Carlos Vela, whose legs are working great, to the head and the rock-hard hair gel of Olivier Giroud to the back of the net to win us the Lamar Hunt US Open Cup the only tournament that matters.
And on the exhale, the shoulders fall away from the ears a little bit more.
Frenchman flip.
Frenchman flip.
Frenchman flip.
Frenchman flip.
French.
French
Men flip.
flip. Frenchman flip.
Frenchman flip.
Frenchman flip.
Frenchman.
As the mind begins to quiet,
I am visualizing Diego Rossi wearing black and gold. Oh no! It's a different black and gold.
allow yourself to become more aware of your body in space.
Bawanga.
Giroud.
Griezmann.
No, not yet, Vince. Not yet.
Great.
Not yet. It's
Griezmann.
next year. Oh, actually, we're not even sure if it's definitely happening.
Bawanga again.
Bawanga again.
Maybe becoming aware of the air on your skin, maybe the clothes on your skin.
Feel the weight of your body against the ground. And if you're Ricky Pooge, that is exactly 85 pounds.
Take a deep breath in.
We must remain grounded, much like Olivier Giroud's rock-hard thighs are grounded around my neck.
Travis. No, Travis. Let's keep it PG, Travis.
And on the exhale, audibly sigh it out.
Kai Kamara. Hi, Kai Kamara. Jump high. Kai Kamara. Fly, Kamara. Sigh, Kamara.
We're going to begin to extend our inhales and our exhales, letting our breath just nourish and clear our minds.
Carlos Vela loves us and will protect us.
He went out for cigarettes and came back. He never said he wasn't coming back. He was always coming back. He loves us, and we love him. And he's back now to play for a few minutes a game.
On the next inhale breath, we'll slowly count to 4.
Timmy Tillman. Timmy Tillman. Timmy Tillman. I don't know why I'm saying Timmy Tillman.
Timothy Tillman. Timothy Tillman. Timothy Toolman. Tim the Toolman. Taylor. Home Improvement. Something about their record at home, maybe? I don't know. I'm losing the thread here, to be honest. Someone please step in here and save me. And that'll do.
Inhale, 2, 3, 4. Hold at the top.
Chirundalo. 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 Steve. Chirundalo. Chundo.
Steve Cherundolo.
Slow exhale for 2, 3, 4.
Dolo, 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 dolo.
Dolo, 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 dolo.
And again, inhale, 2, 3, 4. Hold at the top.
Now I am thinking about Edward Atuesta and the fact that he isn't as good as we remember him being, and I will let that thought pass, and I will return to my mantra of stability. Chiellini, 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 Chiellini. Now let us proclaim the mysteries of
Travis,
faith.
Travis, you're doing it again. Travis.
And
It's
I
becoming
will
a prayer
raise
No,
you
Travis. No,
up,
this is not a prayer.
and I will raise you
Now this is becoming
up,
Christian rock? What's happening?
and I will
Travis?
raise
No,
you
Travis.
up on the last
I think we're getting people out of it. It's taking them out of it, Travis.
Dear one Lord Jesus Christ,
Oh no, Travis,
let
come on.
peace be with
Travis.
you,
Someone wake up Travis.
and I will lift you up.
Hold on, I'm texting Jen. She's gonna come get him.
And exhale, 2, 3, 4. Continue this nice, slow breath on your own and see if you can fill your belly with air.
I'm imagining Olivier Sanchez. He's putting on a headband. He's strolling onto the field. Gallant, regal, the nicest man in soccer. Olivier Sanchez. What a guy.
With each new inhale, expanding your rib cage to fill up in between each individual rib, and each exhale, contracting the belly button towards the spine to empty all the stale air out.
Aaron Long is good now.
Aaron Long is good now, I think.
We no longer complain about Aaron Long.
Sometimes it's not totally clear, to be honest. Aaron Long is probably good now.
If the mind begins to wander, that's okay. We'll just reset our focus to that inhale, 2, 3, 4.
Hugo Lloris. 2 L's in one name, but all W's from now until December, where we will inevitably lose to Inter Miami. With the W, it's Hugo Lloris.
Hugo Lloris punting the ball high in the air, far beyond the opposing defense, to the foot of Denis Bouanga, or Olivier Giroud, or any French player, really. It doesn't matter. The point is, no one on the other team can connect with the ball because the ball speaks French. And they do not, so it sails to the next French foot, and the foot simply kisses the ball on both cheeks and twirls it into the net.
And exhale, 2, 3, 4.
League's Cup is a cash grab. Losing it was actually a protest against capitalism.
We are in the finals, the Lamar Hunt U.S. Open Cup, and we're growing the game. The game is getting girthier and girthier. With every match we play, girthier. This is how we grow the game.
Relax the hands.
Sergi Palencia. Sergi, sir. Say it from the guttural part of your throat. Sir.
And let there be a little softness between the eyebrows. You may continue this 4-count breathing on your own.
Murray is not seriously injured. He's just taking a break.
Or if you're ready to conclude this mindfulness practice, you can slowly begin to allow the breath to come back to its natural state.
Olivier Giroud is slowly working his way onto the team, and the team is remembering that he is on the pitch, and remembering they can pass him the ball, and he is touching the ball, and he is scoring.
Continuing to be mindful of the inhale and the exhale.
Olivier.
On the count of 3, you'll open your eyes, and that's sports, baby.
Thank you for allowing me to guide you through this 5-minute calm down meditation. I hope it helped. Have a beautiful rest of your day. Goodbye. Also, fuck Messi and the entire city of Miami.
We hope that helped you get a little bit more grounded. When we come back, we're going to make some bets.
And we're back. I did air guitar because I forgot that I was on camera. Now it's time for a segment called Bet It and Forget It.
Bet it and forget it.
Every week we end the show with a bet for this week's games, plural, if it's plural. We make an outlandish prediction, something that almost definitely will not happen, but could. Each week we all put up $5, and if no one hits, the money rolls over into the next week, and eventually by the time someone's weird prediction comes true, they might win a good chunk of change. Our bet pool for this week is now $75.
I have a bet that I'm very confident in.
Going right into it.
I've heard that before.
I have a bet that I think is both good for the spirit. It's like chicken soup for the black and gold soul.
Mm-hmm.
Black and gold sold. And it's this. Before the end of this week, so in one of these two games, we will see a Carlos Vela goal.
Oh!
Carlos Vela goal this week.
Wow.
I think that's outlandish enough.
I think so too.
Well, I have a bet that plays off of your bet in like a parlay way. So
Okay.
it's not really a bet that we can both win unless something super special happens. Okay. So
Okay.
follow me here. LAFC will win a penalty. Denny Bawanga will have the ball in his hand. He will walk to Olivier Giroud, hand the ball to Giroud. Giroud will then walk to Carlos Vela, hand the ball to Vela, and Carlos Vela scores a goal, scores a penalty. And that's exactly how it happens.
Good. Oh my God.
And if I know
That's like-
anything
that's
about
actually
forwards,
a dream.
they would love to give up the chance to rack up their number of goals.
It's called respect, Travis.
That's what happened in the shitty movie version of LAFC.
Not only was
No.
not only was Carlos Vela at Arsenal before Olivier Giroud, but he was also at LAFC before Olivier Giroud. So I think he understands a little bit about respect.
What would happen in real life is they would make up that plan ahead of time. Denny Bawanga would hand the ball to Olivier Giroud, and Olivier Giroud would put the ball down and take the shot.
No, I think what would really happen is they would make that plan ahead of time, and Denny Bouanga would take the ball and score.
Or if they did get that far down the line, knowing us, Carlos would miss. Like
oh fuck,
they do all that, and then he misses, and we all go. Like,
yeah, that's
what?
so funny.
They would turn to Carlos, and then Carlos didn't even make the trip to Dallas.
Oh boy. Okay, here's my bet. I don't know if this is outlandish enough, but in one of these matches, LAFC will benefit from an own goal.
Okay, haven't seen an own goal in a while.
Yeah, it's been a bit.
That's what was prompted this. Was I just realized at some point there hasn't been an own goal in a while.
Not a deflection, right? It
No, a
should be
true own goal. I think maybe I'll expand it, but then also make it a little more outlandish. Like it has to be like a true snafu on the part of the opposing team. Like
I mean,
they're really
it's
fucked up. Not like a deflection. Not like
I think one of the reasons.
he was at the wrong place in the wrong time and got unlucky. Like they fucked up. But
Yeah.
I think because of that also makes it so that it's not.
I don't
It
think
does have
you'll
to be
see-
registered as an own goal, I guess.
Yeah, I think one of the reasons why we haven't seen an own goal in a while is because MLS really goes out of the way to want player stats to be cool.
Right.
And they really don't. They like there have been some deflections where I've been like, that's an own goal, and they're like, nah, we'll give it to him. So to your
So can
point,
we say-
I don't think
right,
we'll
like
see
that
it
Giroud
less.
goal would have been a Giroud goal, even though it clearly only went in that direction because it deflected off the gallery.
Oh, that would have. Yeah, absolutely.
Yes, absolutely.
Maybe we can call it a self-own that results in a goal.
An embarrassing own goal. How about that?
Yeah.
Like we know.
But like even if it's registered not as an own goal, like we'll know.
Like the classic, his pants fall down. And
Yeah.
somehow the ball goes in the back of the net.
Yeah.
I
Like if
would
the
even
goalie
say-
saves it and then like it's fully saved, but then he somehow still deflects it into the goal.
Yeah, I love that when the goalie like bobbles it and he's like crawling back into the net to try to get it.
Yeah.
The most humiliating thing an
Oh,
athlete
God, that's
could
the
do.
best. That's the best.
The worst, and this happens a lot in like Champions League, like higher levels, is when the goalie dives, just misses the ball, but hits the post and then rebounds off the back of his head. And then they go, you know what? That was a great shot, but it wouldn't have gone in if it didn't hit the goalie. And they give the goalie the own goal. And I'm like, wow, that's just so harsh.
There was a PK in Leagues Cup where that happened. It was in one of the PKs, and it's just so brutal to see where it just bangs off the back of their head.
Well, that's it.
Vince, you're going with your bet?
Yeah, why not?
All right. So we both win though in that situation.
Yeah, but there's also a chance where you just win because
Yeah,
mine
great.
has to go in this exact way.
Vince,
Great.
you can't win without Travis also winning.
I mean, hey, I'm here
Why-
for you guys. That's how I feel about life.
You know,
Okay.
in this show, when one of us wins, we all win.
It's why
Great.
I immediately started giving an acceptance speech while Travis was doing the same while his wife was winning an Emmy. When Travis
We all
won,
won an Emmy.
Travis's wife won, Travis won, I won. That's how we do these things.
We have an Emmy.
Yeah.
The Emmys
They
are
won
in a lot
multiple
of
Emmys.
ways
Maybe we have multiple Emmys.
the El Trafico of television. We shall see. That's our show. Our theme music is done by the insane team of James Valentine, Nate Walcott, and Louis Palmer. You can subscribe to our YouTube channel where all episodes and clips are available at youtube.com/@happyfootsadfoot. You can become a Patreon at patreon.com/happyfootsadfoot. Tell your friends about us. We got merch. We got Vela Mania merch over at happyfootsadfootpod.com. Patreons get 15% off. Yeah, just like hang out in the live streams. Yeah, subscribe to our YouTube at youtube.com/
He might be
at happyfootsadfoot. Say thank you to Darren, because we know what you guys don't know that me and Vince know is that this is going to be a long night for Darren. So say thank you to Darren for editing this one. Any support really goes a long way to keeping the show going and community growing. So that, yeah, feel free tomorrow night to send us some super chats to thank Darren for his long night. Thanks again, and we'll see you.
I don't want your money. If you could send me caffeine, that would be great.
Darren's going to die young from these sleep-deprived nights giving you content. Thanks again, and we'll see you at BMO, baby. I love you. Bye.
I love you. Bye.
Vince.
Good night, Darren.
Vince, do you have anything to say?
Night, night.
Night, night, Darren.